The 2024 NFL Draft is loaded with great wide receivers, but Ricky Pearsall from Florida is one under-the-radar guy who could turn out to be one of the best talents in this entire class. He's been getting pushed up big boards a lot recently after performing well in the pre-draft process, but that begs the question, does he actually deserve it? Is he really a good prospect, or is he being overrated by his testing numbers from the combine? Today, we'll be taking a look at the positives and negatives of his film to determine just how good he'll actually be at the next level. To get started, we'll first jump into the positives of his game to see what he already does well. The big thing that put Pearsall on many people's radar was how well he tested out as an athlete at the combine. He ran a 4.41 second 40-yard dash, tied for second place in the vertical jump at 42 inches, finished in the 92nd percentile with a 10-foot 9-inch broad jump, logged the best three-cone time at 6.64 seconds, and finished third in the 20-yard shuttle at just 4.5 seconds. I know that's a lot of numbers being thrown around, but the main point is that he tested out extremely well athletically, and it was also great to see that he's big enough to have some success at the NFL at 6'1", 189 pounds. This shows how much upside and room to grow he has as an athlete, and paired with his great performance at the Senior Bowl, these two events have been enough to get him squarely into second-round conversations on most big boards. But he's not just a workout warrior. There's a lot to like when you actually turn on his tape as well. For starters, he's already a really good route runner and just has a knack for getting open. He easily finds and sits down in the soft spots in zone coverage, and it just seems like he's always able to get some separation no matter what the defense is doing. That's one of the most translatable skills that a prospect can have, so it's good to see that he's already above average in that area. Beyond that, he showcases some really good traits while the ball is still in the air. His ability to track the football is some of the best I've ever seen from a prospect. I mean, it's like he has a sixth sense to know where the ball's at, and then he's athletic enough to go and get it. To play off of that, he has some really good body control and can adjust to bad passes very well. He didn't get great play from his quarterback in 2023, but he was able to make him look a lot better by bringing in passes that weren't even accurate. Another great quality about him is his hands. He had only 3 drops this past season according to PFF, and not only are his hands reliable, but they're also strong enough to bring in some absolutely ridiculous catches. Pair that with his ability to track the ball and adjust to bad passes, and you have the perfect recipe for somebody who's going to be a strong contributor in year 1. The last thing I want to touch on is his versatility. He took a lot of snaps from out wide and from the slot this year, and his physical profile suggests that he'd be able to play in either role very well. The team also used him occasionally on sweeps or screens, and it's clear that he's athletic enough to make some magic on those types of plays. Whoever drafts him will be able to use him in a variety of different places and schemes, which is every offensive coordinator's dream. So, if he has all of these great things going for him, what's the downside exactly? Why are people not looking at him as a slam dunk first-round pick, and should they be? Well, to get answers to those questions, we're now going to need to dive into the negative side of his game to see what he doesn't do very well. One of the interesting things about Pearsall as a prospect is that most of his negatives don't come from his tape. For example, one of the biggest concerns with him is his age. He's going to be 24 years old for the majority of his rookie season, and he didn't fully break out until his 5th year in college. That's obviously not the nail in the coffin for him, but it's important context and raises questions about how much more he actually can develop. I'm not necessarily a big believer in the breakout age argument, but there's no denying that somebody like Brian Thomas Jr. or Adonai Mitchell has higher upside, especially because they're still young and have a lot of room to develop. Another tough part of his game to evaluate is how good he is in contested catch scenarios. He doesn't have much experience with them, and chances are that probably won't be a strong suit for him. He was actually pretty good at them this year and had a 50% win rate, but he only had 10 opportunities, and he just isn't going to come down with many of them against bigger and better NFL defenders. I also have some slight concerns with some of the ways that he was limited in college. He didn't get to run a full route tree, and Florida liked to have him working in the short and intermediate part of the field for the most part, instead of letting him go and try to win downfield. His lack of experience in the area could be a problem if teams want to draft him for his athleticism to have him fill that kind of a role. The last major concern I have for him is that his athleticism doesn't show up nearly as strongly on tape as it measured at the combine. Sure, he looks pretty fast and moves well overall, but he doesn't seem like an elite athlete on the field, which throws a little bit of the cold water on his combine numbers. That can be seen especially in his ability after the catch, but don't get me wrong, he's actually pretty good in that area, but it's just clear that he doesn't have the next gear to pull away and really be a dominant home run threat. That's something teams aren't going to be able to develop at this point, especially considering his age. Ricky Pearsall was one of my favorite players to evaluate in this entire class. He impressed me at the combine and stood out on tape with his route running, great hands, and body control, and I think that his skill set is super translatable to the NFL. He's the type of player that won't take a couple of years to develop before he contributes. He'll be ready to go on day one. With that being said, there are still some real issues that stop me from placing him towards the top of this class. His upside isn't as high as a lot of the other receivers that he's competing against, thanks to his smaller frame and his age, and I'm not sure that he's quite as prolific as an athlete as the combine numbers indicate that he is. He has a lot of things to work on, but overall I'll just say that his upside is a bit limited. I don't see a world where he's ever considered a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. So with all of this being considered, I'm officially giving him a late first round grade for the draft this year. Sure, he has some issues, but he's very pro-ready overall, and if people like Ladd McConkey, I don't think there's any reason for them to not like Pearsall as well. I see him being an instant contributor in year one if he goes somewhere with a need at the wide receiver position, and if there's anyone that's going to be the Puka Nacua of this class, it's Ricky Pearsall. Right now, he's my wide receiver 6, ranked right behind players like Brian Thomas Jr. and Adonai Mitchell, solely because he has less upside than those guys. Either way, I'm a big fan of his, and I'm excited to see who takes him and what he's able to do at the next level. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a new drop. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, goodbye.